What's up, Best Self Squad? Welcome to episode 92 of the Best Self Blueprint podcast. Before the episode kicked off, I wanted to hop on and just thank you all for tuning in. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. If you are not, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps out the channel, helps me get better and bigger guests on, and just helps overall. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. The YouTube spiel, if anything in this video is something that you resonate with, hit that like button. If you have comments, questions, agreements, disagreements, anything worth throwing in the comments, please do. And if there is someone who you believe will benefit from listening to this episode, please share it with them. That's why we do it. But thank you so much. Just a couple things. We have events all weekend. Saturday is going to be a self-confidence, self-work workshop. Sunday, we have both part 5 of the framework series and a meditation class. Monday, we have a free nutrition fundamentals class. Every Wednesday, we have the sports club, just getting outside, getting active. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have yoga classes at the studio. A whole lot going on. So head to the website. Please check out everything in the description below. But without further ado, let's get to the program. All right. Kitty Calisthenics, welcome to the show for the 5th time?
Yes.
6th time?
Let's go with it.
She's the part-time co-host now.
I am. Hello, this is actually my show.
So we actually recorded, you were the first podcast I wanted to release in the new studio. Thanks to me, that entire clip got messed up and deleted. So we're going to run it back.
It's okay.
So the thing that I want to start it off with is you have recently entered the competitive athletics space. So just kind of talk about what that looks like difference in training, difference in intentionality, and how you're prepping for the competitions, like physically, mentally, emotionally, all the stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm on a team which is like really cool, and what I like about it is in one of like the relays and stuff coming up, like Nay, the other female athlete on my team, she's like way stronger with like heavy lifting kind of stuff. She'll be focusing more on like the weighted pull-ups and stuff, and I'll be doing some reps still. But then, like, that's her strength. But then my strength is more of, like, just, like, the body weight stuff, like the pull-over to the pull-up, the the typewriters and stuff. So it's cool. I love that there's different types of strength in calisthenics, and then we can all come together and help each other, and I just love that. Like, I feel like I have a purpose.
It's like the Voltron with the Power Rangers.
I didn't watch Power
Well, we're going to end this show here. Thanks for tuning in.
To talk with you.
No, that's cool, especially with calisthenics, because my preconceived idea of what calisthenics was is it's just like you going and competing for yourself.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure there are competitions like that, but it's cool to have a team of, like, how many people are on the team?
6 of us with a person on the side just in case someone gets injured.
Like a sub?
Yeah, sub. That's what it is.
Watch that person, because they're going to want to get in.
I know.
Okay, so, like, you have kind of your team roles, but for you in particular, because for a long time, your training was kind of for the sake of training, and then, like, content creation as well. So now that it's geared towards athletics, what's, like, the mental component now that you have to work on with it?
It's so different. Like, I feel a lot of pressure. So much pressure, especially, like, on a team, because I've done a competition where it was just me, and even that, I'm like, I'm just here for fun. Like, I'm just glad to be here. But for the team, it's like, no, I have to show up and do my best. And so I feel like there's a lot more pressure just in my own training, like just in my workouts. If I have a bad workout, if I'm plateauing, I'm like, oh God. And you really gotta refocus and be like, what's off? Is it my nutrition? Is it my sleep? Is it my stress? And all these factors come together and make the smallest and biggest difference. And before it was like, well, I work out for fun. Like, I train for fun. If I have a bad workout, it's just a bad workout. It's no big deal. Now it's like every rep counts. And I really need to zone in on just everything now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had to deal with the flip side of that, because for the longest time, my training, it like back to back to back was just geared towards a performance. So like a race, a challenge, a competition, and the flip of that is equally weird because you go from measuring every rep, every set, every workout, every meal, all your habits to like, just go play.
Yeah.
Just go have fun. It doesn't really matter. And I almost had a hard time turning that off because you just get in such a zone and you feel so dialed with like everything. And even on like the bad days, I think when you have perspective, you kind of look back and you're like, holy crap, I am ready. Like I am a machine right now.
Yeah.
And then we'll call it civilian training, where you're just like hanging out, working out to have fun and stay active, you almost lose that sense of focus and direction of like, almost like hunting, like you're on the hunt for the performance.
Yeah, because I feel like when you're doing it just for fun, it's like, I could do another set, but it's like, meh. But now it's like, I should add another set to get stronger in this particular one. And yeah, it's hard. I feel like both are important to have. I feel like it's important to have those like off-season times. But then you come back and you're dialed in again to remind you like, okay, it's important to have a goal. It's important to have a purpose. It's important to push myself as far as I can go to know how strong I can get. And that it's important to have playtime too. Because even now it's like when I want to take another rest day and stuff, like I really question it. Like, do I actually need another rest day, or can I actually push? Is it just in my mindset? Even like for training with this, we have all of the exercises that we need to get done. So my workouts are a little bit more boring.
Yeah.
I'm really focusing on those same movements, and it's a bit boring to me. But it's okay. But I feel like that must have been really hard for you especially with your 100-miler, because you're just running.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I actually had to get creative because I ended up getting a stress fracture in my foot 8 weeks out. And so at a time where I'm supposed to be logging 90, 100-mile weeks, I can't run. And so it was like, how do I just do all the cardio all the time to get as cardio fit as possible, knowing that I'm only going to have a week or two on my foot before the actual event. So that made it interesting. Weirdly, it didn't make me nervous at all. Like, yeah. I think mostly just because of the fact that, like, 100 miles is going to suck no matter what. Yeah. So, like, that adds a extra layer on the cake of suck. Yeah. But, like, you're still going to eat the dang cake. So, like, if there's an extra layer, a little more frosting, so be it. But, yeah, I think the important thing for me was, because like I said, long time, I almost felt like part of me kept putting things on the calendar so that I didn't feel directionless. Like, it was good to, like, get done with an event and just know immediately what the next event was. Yeah. Part of that I'm learning is I re-looked at the Enneagram stuff. It's like a personality test. Oh, and mine is very much an achiever personality, which means I need to have something to aim at. But I think part of it, was just like, if I don't have something to aim at, am I just going to fall off? But what's been beautiful about the experience for the last, to the day, 1 year since the 100-miler, and I didn't really do, aside like for fun stuff, like fun challenges, I didn't have anything super competitive. And I think in that, now I'm getting to the point where it was like, all right, I've spent a long enough time just having fun training, trying different modalities, and now I feel like I'm choosing, like, okay, not just out of a sense of compulsion, but out of a sense of choice, I want to put something else on the calendar to just get back to, like, getting in that disciplinary zone of, like, all right, let's push and let's see what we can do.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. So, we have the race team that we're setting up here. So I'll be doing Savage Race, Tough Mudder, and then a third event. But that'll be less competitive for me, and I'll be doing more, like, put the coaching hat on and help people who are struggling get through it. I've thought about a couple things. Well, I have the 24-hour workout coming up for the charity event, so that will be tough.
Yeah.
admittedly.
You did it before though, right?
Yeah, so
yeah.
This would be, I mean, in terms of 24-hour events, this would be like my 8th or 9th. But in terms of like a full body 24-hour workout, this would be the 2nd.
Okay.
So
and different moves?
Very similar. So like basically a mix of like cardio, weights, body weight, core. Yeah.
Okay.
So full body circuit. The one that I've been toying with, I don't want to talk about yet, at least on here. I'll tell you as soon as we're done, but
right.
I don't want to preemptively put it out if I'm not going to do it, because then I'll just get excited and do it.
Yes.
The one that I am for sure doing is rim to rim for the Grand Canyon in September.
Wait, what?
So you start at either the north or south rim, and you hike all the way down through the base and up both sides of the canyon. So we'll be doing that September 24th.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think I want to say, and this could be wrong, if you're listening, I'm not saying this is right, so don't correct me or anything. I think it's about 24 miles and probably about 10 to 12,000 feet elevation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That could be very wrong, though. That's just from what I remember when I looked it up. But, yeah, so I like the idea of, like, in terms of picking a direction, what feels good that I've just gone through is, like, taking a step back, be aimless for a little while, and just, like, put your hand in a bunch of different cookie jars and see what feels good, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the flip side of someone who, for the longest time, started out with like training for the sake of training, and now you're on a team? What's been your kind of takeaways in terms of like whether it's the mental component, the training component, all of that?
Oh, I think right now I am just like I feel like excited being on a team. So I think following your excitement is like really important. Before this, I was feeling a little like monotonous, and I didn't really have that direction. So it gives me like this purpose and like being a part of a community. Like I love my team, but I also love the other teams too. So like getting to go and see everyone, be like, hey, I only saw you like once last year, but I feel like we're all like really, we cheer each other on Instagram all the time kind of thing. So I think just being in the community is so like wonderful, and I feel like I have that here with like you guys and stuff, but it's different when we're not like competing on the same thing, and we're not having that same purpose,
right,
kind of thing. So follow your excitement.
Yeah, well, and that's an interesting piece too, because and quick shout out, so we are currently recording at what is now Rising Fitness. So those of you who tune in consistently, you know I used to work at a gym called Body by Design. Well, Body by Design is no mo, so now it's Rising Fitness, and I'm very excited because we're going to be collaborating Best Self and Rising Fitness to do a charity event. Very excited about that. You will have heard about that in the intro to this, so I won't go into that too much. But also, we're going to work together to put on a race team. So whether that's like 5Ks, 10Ks, obstacle course racing, anything that you can race, we will try to do. So yeah, quick shout out to Ryan and Caitlin on that. But what's fascinating about it is all of the coaches and a lot of I'll loosely use the term athletes that like train hard here, train in a little bit of a different way. Like everyone kind of has their own unique style.
Yes.
So that has to be very like tribal feeling to like have the people, at least online or on your team, where it's like they're doing the things you're doing, they're training the way you're training, and you can just like almost break virtual bread over the fun ideas that come from it.
Yeah, I love that, and it pushes me. I don't think I've ever pushed myself as hard as I am right now, because I see how hard everyone else is working, and I'm like, oh, I gotta make sure like I'm on top with them. Like I gotta work real hard, and like here, like you said, like everyone has their different specialties, so there's no like I guess, good comparison and like good competition where you feel like, oh, there's that next level. So they're just showing me there's a next level to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
But also it's cool to see what's kind of nice about the way that you do it is you do fitness for your life and yourself, but you also do it for your job, and part of your job is content creation.
Yes.
So part of that journey has to be so cool to see, like looking back a year or two and seeing where your calisthenics was at versus now.
Oh my God.
That has to be a rewarding thing in and of itself.
It is really, really cool. Like even just from January, I hadn't edited a vlog that Tyler took of me until like a few weeks ago. And as I was editing it, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so much farther than this. Like, I don't even know if I want to post this, but it has still had like great nuggets and tips and stuff. But I've like evolved so much since even just January. So it's like so cool. But yeah, like baby Kat 4 years ago when she was like just starting to get into like calisthenics, like here and there, and then going back to heavy lifting because why not? She would be like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, you're on a team? Wait, you're like an athlete? Wait, you get paid for this? Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so cool. So, like, that's just from, like, just following my passion, which I feel like is so important for people. I know it's harder for, like, people with kids, people who, like, need, like, this steady job and everything. But I kind of, like, allowed myself to just follow my passion in life, and I think I got really lucky.
Yeah. No, seriously, that is true, because I do get that a lot more on, and I don't like using the term life coaching for what I do because I don't quite think it's that, but we'll for the sake of this next sentence, put the stamp life coaching on it. When I'm doing the life coaching portion of my coaching with clients, a lot of them have that rebuttal when I push them to maybe make some changes, is they say like, oh, it's easy for you to say single, no kids, like
Yes.
you have all the freedom in the world. I don't. And although I do have a lot of pushback on that, and I think with busyness and complexity comes more intentionality, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Mm-hmm. But that is so true, and I've been thinking about that more and more recently, is for the people who have the cojones to go after like their dream before they get to that stuff, yeah. It's this weird mixture of luck, intentionality, being around the right people, having the right neural pathways, probably some naivety and stupidity.
Yeah. Pushing past fear, I think, is a lot of it.
Yeah.
Too, because like, well, when you bring that up, I'm thinking, I'm like, damn, like, sorry, I can swear, but
fucking let it fly.
I'm thinking how it's like this didn't. It's not like, oh, you know, I like fitness, this was handed to me. It's like I made, like on YouTube, I made like over 800 workouts for free, like for like 9 years. And because of that, I was also building my Instagram. And because of that, someone, Miss Toasty, she found me and asked me to be in one of her calisthenics competition. Because of that, I met Nay. Then Nay asked me to be on the team. It's like, just because I put so many hours, like for free, into, like, I used all my free time. I was burnt out all the time for like 9 years. Like, that's when the opportunity started finally coming. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I had to put the work in.
Yeah. What's your relationship with, because I do think what I'm realizing now more than ever is even if you work hard, success is not guaranteed. But success is guaranteed to not happen if you're not working really hard. But I think there's also a component, at least for those who are kind of, we'll say, on a spiritual path in tandem with like the physical success path, which is it almost seems like there's a sense of worth and deservingness that needs to be along for the ride for these things to be presented to you.
Yeah.
What's been your experience with that?
Oh, you just have to remind yourself that you just gotta believe in yourself, because like, no, like, yeah, other, like, people will along the way, but it's up to you to put the work in. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, otherwise, like you said, it's just not gonna happen. So why not take the chance when you have the free time? Like, I used all my free time to work on my YouTube, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I will say I think we've gotten really lucky is the thing that I see all the time on like the motivational social media feeds is like, no one's going to clap for you. You need to hustle alone. But we've actually had friends who, like, we call these crazy shots that I'm guessing a lot of people have friend groups that maybe their eyes glaze over. It's like the crabs in a bucket pulling them back down. But we're very fortunate. We have the friends who hear the crazy Babe Ruth home run, call the shot, and they just get amped.
Yeah, we are so lucky with that, to be honest. Like, when I brought up even, like, Frogger, my mom's like, no, you shouldn't do that. It's in Australia. It's during a weird time and stuff. And you guys were like, do it.
You got to do it.
Let's go. And, like, yeah, anytime I bring up something or, like, you bring up something, we're always, like, super supportive. Like, how can we be there? Like we were at your 100 mile. Like, let's go. We'll be there for you. That kind of stuff. So we are very fortunate with that. And I think, like, when you do, if you're in like the fitness world, you got to surround yourself with the fitness people because they understand. Other people don't understand it, and that's not their fault. It's just like they just don't know it.
Right. I also think, I mean, let's take fitness away. I think you just need lifers in your corner, like people who understand the importance of experiences, like really freaking cool experiences, and that for us a lot of times is in fitness because we're just freaking good at it. But like for some people that may be travel, for some people that may be new hobbies and experiences, for some people that may be meeting new people, whatever the thing is. I think it's so important to have people who understand, I'll say, what life is about, or at least a piece of what life is about, which is there's a timer, and we don't know when that timer is going to go off, but having the mental clarity and foresight to see an opportunity that will allow you to, when that timer goes off, feel way better about the game you played.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we've gotten really lucky. Now, on the flip side, I want to talk to you about haters, because I love your video about the person who commented, like, just do girl stuff, and she wore like the pink outfit and was just dunking on them. So this is, it's talked about a lot more in terms of like influencer space, but I think everyone deals with negative comments, passive aggressive, whether it's like texts, friends talking behind your back, as an influencer, people commenting on your stuff. What are some of the lessons you've learned about, like, at what point do you take it as constructive criticism? At what point do you ignore it? At what point do you do a rebuttal dunk on them video? Like, what's been your experience?
Oh man, it took me a long time, because during like I would say the worst comments that I've gotten where it's like, oh, you're fat and stuff. That was during like my eating disorder time. So that was really hard because I also wasn't confident, and I like felt large and stuff. So it was really up until like probably like 2 years ago where I'm like, okay, if you get these, just remind yourself, like, a happy person isn't going to write this, and someone took their time and their energy to write this. And some people, I'm like, why would someone think to write this? The thing is, they probably didn't even think. That's just like what they do. And it's probably a reflection of how they talk about themselves to themselves. And then at that point, I'm just sad for them, because I'm like, that sucks. I will say, like, I'm not going to say, like, oh, they don't affect me. Like, they affect me still. Like, if I get a mean comment, if I get criticism, I'm such a perfectionist that, like, it gets to me, and I have to, like, calm my ego down and be like, calm down. Like, is this something you actually need to work on? Like, that's not a bad thing. Maybe they are trying to help you. But, yeah, it's really just focusing on, okay, is this true? No. Okay, then that's really sad for them. And then I actually, like, send them, like, happy thoughts. I know it sounds so silly and, like, just silly. But I'm like, I hope they do well. I hope something beautiful happens for them today. But yeah, I definitely still get affected by them, is my initial response. And then I kind of work through. So every mean comment, I have to work through it. I have to process it. And then I focus on what's actually true for me.
Yeah, I was talking with, do you remember Sarah, the former Miss USA from Wisconsin?
Okay, yeah.
So I had her on recently, and she was talking about this, where she said, from what I believe, no one controls their first thought. But everyone has the choice to control their second thought. And so she had this really beautiful, articulated philosophy around, if you just focus on developing the skill of optimizing on the second thought and bridging the gap to your first thought, you'll be able to control just your response in so many situations in which otherwise you'd probably respond and be like, listen up.
Yes.
I'll show you.
I will have to do that. There are some times where I'll type something and I'll pause. I'll be like, no, don't do it. Don't add fire to fire. It's
you
like,
know you got
yeah,
it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't do that. But I'll make like a goofy reel about it because like, I think it also shows like, hey, I get these comments too, but like we don't have to take them so seriously, and it's actually such like a silly comment anyway.
Right. Yeah, but to your point, I think it is, at least the way I've always thought about it is, if someone gives me criticism, whether it's through the form of I heard someone's gossiping about me, or a text that's sent, or a comment on something, I think about, okay, if this is triggering me, like if I'm getting mad, there's probably something I believe is true about it. Mm-hmm. So taking away the person who said it, taking away the context in which it was said, what's the thing I believe I need to work on that's like hitting my core?
Yes.
And then it's like, all right, well, I can either, it's like the serenity prayer as pertains to shit talk. Like, I can either walk away from it, I can change something about it, or I can accept it. Well, you're probably not going to be able to walk away from it, because if it's like a YouTube comment, they'll be back.
Yes.
Like, they're coming for you now. But in terms of a lot of these things, it's like, okay, does it hold utility enough for you to acknowledge like there's something you need to change that you know you need to work on? Or is it just triggering, like for me, I've worked so hard on my character that if someone says something bad about my character, I automatically just want to slap them in the next week. But it's more because of this like defensiveness around, man, like you're picking apart something I've worked so hard on.
Yeah.
But when you take a step back, unless I believe I'm perfect, which I don't yet.
Yeah.
That was a joke. But like, unless I believe I'm perfect, there's always going to be character flaws.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just this idea of, does it have utility that's worth allowing the discomfort while you change it? Or is it something you just kind of have to remove from your mind entirely?
That's a good point. I
Thanks.
love that. You're welcome.
Hey.
Well, someone had mentioned before, they're like, you know, your YouTube or your Instagram is kind of like your house. And if someone writes a mean comment, they're walking into your house, they're like, this sucks, this is dumb, you're stupid, and then they walk out, and you're like, what? So
Excuse me?
you're left with it while they're just like out dilly-dallying to the next house that they're going to and trolling. So it's just like, well, it's your house, you know, you can just like delete the comment kind of thing. That's something I do sometimes, is that instead of like responding, I'll just delete it, because I'm like, I don't want anyone else to see this, because I don't want them to defend me and put more energy into it that they don't have to, because it's like, then that's affecting their day.
Yeah.
And then it's already affecting mine. And then if I go back to the post, I'll be reminded again that comment is there. It's like, how much energy do I want to put towards this? If it's a comment like the one that was like, oh, act like a woman, I'm just like, well, that's not really like, it's just silly.
Yeah.
Like,
that's someone who's simply fishing for a response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fascinatingly, everyone thought it was a man, and it was actually a woman. It was an older woman that said that to
The more you know.
It was fascinating.
So to kind of keep pulling on the thread of how one feels about oneself, because now I'm just curious, because we talked before and you were telling me about a book you're reading all about relationships. So what have you learned about relationships?
Oh, man. Well, okay, my favorite part of the book is just learning, like, the relationship with yourself. And I took a lot of it also towards, like, with my eating disorder background, towards the relationship towards my body. And one of the things it pointed out, and I'm sure like I know Justin has told me this before, but like seeing it on paper and not being told by your spouse, is that I've had such a conditional relationship with my body. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like just framing it like that, I'm like, I have not given my body this unconditional love for everything that it's done for me. Like that's just wild to me. But figuring out like the relationship with yourself, if it's good, if you're good, it's going to be even better with other people. And I think that's really important because people tend to think, oh, I just have to work on the relationship with my best friend, this, blah, blah, blah. No, you have to work on yourself first. And while, it's not like, oh, like you have to be perfect and then you can have like a relationship with someone else. It's like, well, keep working on yourself. I don't think I'm ever going to have like a perfect relationship with myself. It's always going to be evolving. I'm always going to be learning something. I will never be perfect, and that is okay. But as long as I have that in my mind, like, just try your best. Be your best self.
She gets it.
What about you with, like, relationships and stuff? Like, what have you learned?
Yeah. I very much fall into that same trap where I think as I grew up, I conflated love with respect. So love came from achievement. And I think a big part of that is I grew up playing sports. So when you're playing sports all the time, you draw the through line from like winning to getting praise to getting like attention that can be confused as love, as opposed to just that feeling of regardless of the outcome. And my parents did a great job of saying that, like, hey, win or lose, we love you as long as you're trying. But in my head, it's like, yeah, great, you can say that, but you're a lot happier when I come out of the locker room after a win than a loss, right? And so that's something I've had to unravel really the last 5-6 years. I mean, consciously. Before that, it was all subconscious. But once I woke up to that, and I don't think by any means I've overcome it, but I'm at least more aware of like when that flares up of, to your point, there's love, which is unconditional, and then there's respect, which to me, that's very conditional. Like respect is earned. Yes. And unfortunately, somewhere in my mind, those two wires are still crossed.
Still.
Yeah, but to the point where, like, even though they're crossed, I'll automatically fall into the conflation of the two. But as soon as I am aware of it, I'll be able to, work through it. But yeah, I think in terms of relationship with oneself, it is so important to draw the distinction between self-confidence and self-worth. Because inherently, I think self-love is found in self-worth, which is unconditional. That's just, Merry Christmas, you're here, you're alive, period. Like, you don't need any stamp of achievement on it. You don't need any conditionalities tied to it. It is just, when you wake up, feel that love that comes from, like, being in yourself.
New shirt.
Clip.
Be in yourself.
Be in yourself. But no, like just that to your point, unconditionality behind simply being alive and being you and knowing how amazing that is. And then in a different bucket, that's where you can have the conditional, either I feel good because I've been doing the things that are in accordance with who I want to be, or maybe today I don't feel very good because I haven't been doing the things that are in accordance. And another piece, too, that I think is really important is we seem to be developing a culture where feeling bad is not okay. Where, like, we have drugs to get rid of any, like, negative feeling. And if you're feeling sad, we need to make that person feel happy. But really, I believe there's a reason we experience a full range of emotions. We go through cycles in our life. Like, just this last week, I had a cycle of just feeling constantly like I'm not doing enough. I'm doing all the wrong things. I can't seem to get a grip. And now today I feel fantastic, and I feel like I'm going to have a great week.
Welcome to the cycle.
And so, the spirit cycle. But yeah, so I think it's a very complex thing, and I think each person has different battles within themselves to work through. But step one is awareness. Like, get aware of what it is, and very rarely, if ever, you will identify those things on your own. Like, you and I do a phenomenal job of, like, we'll have the same problem, and I'll point out that you're having the problem, and you'll point out that I'm having the problem, but neither of us could see that we were having the problem. And so I think, yeah, like, having friends that have the confidence in the relationship to point those things out to you in a loving way, have someone who's competent enough to actually point out useful things and not just dunk on you for 20 minutes for the sake of dunking on you for 20 minutes. But yeah, and it could be a coach, it could be a mentor, it could be a friend, but finding someone to help you build the awareness around where are you feeling stuck and what can they see as an underlying factor.
Yeah, and I think like bringing back to having those dark times, I think it's actually important for people to have those dark times because those are the times you really sit with yourself. And like, because those are the times you don't want to go out, you don't want to be with friends, you don't want to do all this stuff. And like, maybe you just need that time to be in your own head. And that's what people are most scared of. They're so scared to be alone in their heads. And I get it. I've been there.
That's why I'm so big on, and a big part of last week where I just felt so chaotic is I noticed what I wasn't doing that I have been doing for a long time is usually before I go to bed, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I don't turn it off until I've done my morning exercise, my morning breath work, like all of the stuff that I need to do to really feel good to start my day. And to each their own. Some people don't need as much time in the morning. I like to have a good like hour and a half to 2 hours to really just lay the groundwork.
Yes.
And this last week, I've woken up and just started responding to texts and responding to emails. And then from there, it's like, oh, fuck me.
Yes.
Like, this whole day now is chaos.
Yes.
But to your point, I think people are scared of what thoughts will pop up when they aren't trying to constantly stay like one step ahead of them.
Yeah.
That's why I love this idea of at least once a week, get a couple hours to yourself where you're not on a phone, on a computer, watching a movie, playing a video game, reading a book. Like, just go for a walk by yourself and just think. And there will be some weird frickin' thoughts that pop in your head, but it's because your brain is now like, it's like, all right, we have a chance to catch up. We're just going to cram a week or a month or a year or a decade worth of miscellaneous thoughts into this time that we now have.
Yes. And they get overwhelmed because they haven't been unpacking it all at once. Now they have all these boxes to be like, oh my gosh, look at all this like stuff I haven't looked at in so long and dealt with and processed.
Yeah, it was interesting. We did once a month we're doing like a free meditation at the studio, and the guy who coaches it asked me, he said, hey, is 20 minutes too long for like an introductory meditation class? I said yes, but keep it 20 minutes because, and it was exactly how I thought it was going to go. If it was 3 or 5 minutes, which is usually what people start at, the whole 3 to 5 minutes, they're going to be like, well, now I've got about 2 minutes left. Now there must be at most a minute and a half left. Man, I'm starting to get uncomfortable. It's a good thing there's only about 30 seconds left. And so I think if you give 20 minutes, it's enough time where they have to just give up trying to guess. But a lot of the feedback was like, I just couldn't get comfortable. I was physically uncomfortable the whole time. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because your body's so not used to just sitting in one still position with no stimulants and just be. And I didn't say that because I wasn't running the class, but it was just such a curious thing for me on the coaching side, is seeing people for the first time having to just sit and shut up and be there. And the level of discomfort they talked about in that process was it was intense for him.
Yeah, even like 3 minutes is hard. At the end of my workouts on YouTube, I'll have like a mini meditation. It's like 1 to 2 minutes. And there will be people that are like, oh man, you know, I skipped this for like a year, but now I started doing it, and it's like, I love it. Like, I feel so much better. It was hard for me at first, but there are still some that I know that tell me, they're like, I can't do it. I can't sit around, blah, blah. It's not burning calories. I'm like, that's not the point. Like,
right.
There's more to life than burning calories.
And that's exactly it. That's why I switched to like getting away from just the fitness stuff and getting into health optimization, is because I want to teach people that health is so much more than physical health.
Yeah.
When we think of health, we think of eat broccoli, lift weights, sleep well, and try to not stress yourself out.
Yeah.
But really, it's like social health, emotional health, environmental health, spiritual health, all of these other pieces that come into it. And a big piece of good health is, do you like know thyself? Like, how well do you actually know yourself? Not just from like kind of your character traits and your weird quirks, but on the flip side, like that underlying observer. How well do you, the ego, know the underlying observer?
Yes.
And vice versa. And if you don't meditate a lot, that probably just sounds like really weird. But there's like the active participant, and then there's the kind of behind the scenes observer in life. Both are you, but they are distinct differential aspects. And so to have a relationship between those two, I think, is super important for good health. But I do want to ask, as we slowly start to wrap up, life. What's been a few of your like either biggest challenges or most prominent lessons that have been popping up for you?
Oh, just taking care of myself without needing the support of my closest crew, I want to say. Because I made a decision more recently. I don't know if I want to share it because I don't want to get bashed.
You do you.
But like my best friend like sent me this text that was not kind, and it still affects me. And to not have support, especially because he's getting married soon, and I want to be like really excited, but I'm very sad right now about it. So just taking care of me and being like, this decision was because I need to take care of my health, and it was like the past year and a half it was doing very bad, and now it is not. And I'm like, even though I don't have the support of like this rock in my life, I need to be that rock. And sometimes that happens, and it's really sad, but like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, well, and I also think too, this is something especially with last month, I did the audit framework, where just talking about like, are you continuing to audit the people in your life, the places you frequent, the habits you have, all of those things. And that is such an important piece, is understanding, first of all, just like there's seasons of life, there's seasons of relationships where I'm sure this person will be a forever friend for you. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know anyone who's had someone in their life who's been a very close piece of their life for a long period of time that hasn't had any turbulence in the relationship.
Yeah.
But it's understanding, like, continue to readjust the scope on what is this connection with this person. So like, there are friends who 10 years ago, they were my friends that I would talk to every day, do stuff with every day, lean on for advice. And now they're people I see once or twice a month. And that's, in my opinion, the best way our friendship works, is celebrations and special occasions. And I think it's making sure that you feel good about what are the parameters of the relationship. And hopefully the person on the other end of that line is doing the same thing. But I think that also just ties back to what we've been talking about this whole time, which is, to your point, the more confident you are in yourself, your decisions, and who you are, the less you'll rely on needing acceptance from all the people.
Yeah. Yes. What have been yours? What's been your like main takeaway lately?
Well, one of mine is, for any big goal, it's going to take longer than you think. It'll be harder than you think, and it'll happen differently than you think.
Yeah.
But it'll be better than you think.
Yes.
That has been a big one for me. As you well know, the best self journey has been wild the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And it has. Like, it's happened very differently than I wanted it to or expected it to. But I think what it's turning into is far better than I thought. Mm-hmm. And just the lessons in who I'm becoming in trying to make a community of people that like just want to live the best life they can. That's a very big one for me. So yeah, like it'll take longer, it'll be different, and it'll be far more difficult than you think, but it'll be way better than you could picture. Mm-hmm. That's been something I've been trying to remind myself of, because I think I'm in the process of longer than you think, different than you think, and much harder than you think. So just reminding myself, like, it's that hard work. There is elements of luck. It's making sure that I stay close to the people that do fill me up and make sure that I feel good about who I am, what I'm doing, where I'm going. I think another one that I've been trying to focus on is not foregoing happiness for the thing that's supposed to get it, which is success.
Oh.
So I've been looking at, not necessarily, I was toying with the idea of like live a dream day every day, but holy fill in the blank, that's a difficult task.
Yeah.
So I've switched it to a week. Like, what's an ideal week? Because I love rock climbing. If I rock climb every day, that takes out an hour and a half to 2 hours of a day, which no chance. So I've been really toying with this idea of like, can you orchestrate it so that you live the ideal week every week?
Oh, I like that.
So that way, yeah, it's like you have wiggle room so that every day doesn't have to look exactly the same.
Yeah.
But in a matter of 168 hours, you get the rest you want, you do the purposeful work you want, you can make the money you want, you're around the people you want, and all of these things can fall into place. That's something I've been toying with a lot, and that's thanks to a guy named Tim Ferriss, podcaster, author. He was talking about that. And so I've just been experimenting with like the ideal week. Like, what does that look like in terms of morning routine, end of day routine, how much time spent on best self, how much time spent exercising, socializing, learning, all of the stuff. But so those would be my two, is like try to build your ideal week so that you don't feel like you need a vacation to escape from your actual week. And then with a big goal, have perspective.
I think that's really good for the week one, because even as people who are like, oh, I'm an introvert, but if I was going to have like my last day and make it like a dream day, then I want to be surrounded with like my loved ones and stuff. But it gives like that person that space of, but then you have a recharge day, and then that's really good. Like even this Saturday was a bachelor party, and like I went, a kind of bachelorette party, I guess. I was invited.
Yeah.
But it was like a long day, and it was a lot of socializing. And then the next day, I was like, I'm gonna be a potato.
Mm-hmm.
I was a potato, and it was great. Both days were great. But I wouldn't want to be like, no, I can only have this potato day. So I think that it gives space for everything, like you said. So I think that's really good.
Heck yeah. All right, 2 last questions. I'll ask them quick.
Yes.
The first one, I just like asking this of guests. Let's say I give you one of them bullhorns, and everyone in the world magically speaks English now and can hear this bullhorn from Brookfield.
Nice.
You can say one thing that you think the world needs to hear. What would that be?
I've been thinking about this a lot. Take time for empathy and to forgive, because I think people hold on to way too much, and like for like trauma and stuff, there are times when we are given trauma from other people, and unfortunately we're left with it, but it's our job to process it. So try to just sit with forgiveness towards either yourself or that person, to set yourself free, and to also empathize, maybe not towards that person, but like towards other people in your life that you're angry towards or whatever, because then with empathy comes compassion and love, and fight, like we were talking about before, fighting fire with fire doesn't help. It could be fun. But if more people had empathy and times with themselves to forgive, then there wouldn't be so much anger, and there wouldn't be so much of that stuff. And yeah.
I agree. And I think that's important, is just that idea of, even if you're not fully past it yet, holding the compassion and forgiveness just on a human level of like, this is someone that you love and care about. They're a human being who makes mistakes. You've probably done something that you hope to God and all things holy that someone forgives you for. I like that. All right, last question. What for you right now is the next step in you becoming your best self?
Ooh, all I can think about is the competition right now. So just continue to dial in on nutrition, on my sleep, on my stress. My stress is, even though my dentist is like, oh, you must be clenching your mouth so much because you have this, and this issue. And I'm like, thanks for stressing me out even more. Yeah. So dealing with all of that stuff, water, and just taking care of myself mentally, because when I'm good mentally, I'm good everywhere else. My health falls into place. Eating falls into place. I don't have like old ED thoughts or anything like that. So yeah, just going back to the basics.
Unclench.
Just unclench.
I like it. It's a good way to level up in life.
What about yours?
I think the biggest one is that ideal week. Like, really lock in the ideal week. And then I'll give my business answer, is getting better at promoting, because I really see anyone who shows up to events that we have going at the studio, classes, trainings, all of the stuff, when people show up, they love it. But I need to get better at getting it in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm calling it, I need to get better at AIS, asses and seats.
Did you make that up?
No, my mom did.
Did she really?
Yeah, shout out mom. Yeah.
Mom.
But yeah, so I'm going to listen to my mommy and put asses in seats. And that's it for me. But sweet. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for jumping on. Part-time co-host basically from here on out.
Yay.
We will link all of your social stuff in the description below.
Thank you.
Everyone who tuned in, as always, thank you. You've already listened, so give it a like, comment, share it with someone you think might benefit. If there's something else you can do that I'm not thinking of, definitely do that. Subscribe. It's probably pretty cool.
Feel free to subscribe.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Otherwise, we will let you get to it. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. Peace!